Good morning. Hope you're doing well out there, whatever time of day this catches you, and wanting to come talk to you today in some of my awareness. And I feel like I have a new theme I want to start to bring forth and do my next conversation series on next week, probably. But this idea of going from misery to magic, right? Like, how can we go from feeling miserable to feeling magical? And I realize that's a lot of my current interests and pursuits. Working with my own dealing with life, right? My own levels of misery that might come up, right? And also just tuning into the misery that we might sense and see in the world and in our fellow humans, right? And wanting more of us to just find ways to feel better and enjoy this precious life. And I feel like that's at the heart of what I'm thinking about this morning, too, that I find one of the biggest, most magical tools that helps me always to move from feeling miserable to starting to feel more magical is this thing that we call gratitude, right? Or appreciation. And I know, we feel like we've all heard it. We all know, right? And we're almost sick of hearing about it. But one of the main things that it really feels better to feel thankful for, right, is just this gift of being alive, right? And I don't know about you, but I find I get frustrated with myself when I'm not remembering to just be glad to be alive today, right? When I forget that I'm so fortunate to be alive, much less in the life, the very privileged, free life that I get to lead. So I find that the more I do what I can do to stay in touch with that awareness, to remember that, to feel that, to be in my days just being glad to be alive, it feels better, right? It feels more reverent. It feels more precious. It feels more happy to just remember that, right? So I've really built in gratitude as a huge practice and discipline in my life. I use it every day preventatively, doing weird things like making lists of things that I'm thankful for every day, and also knowing to use gratitude and appreciation to always shift and lift how I'm feeling about anything. And it's so powerful that I just undeniably have had to and chosen to build it in as a huge way of life, but as a discipline too, and as a practice, because me too, I get out of gratitude, I get out of appreciation. It's easy sometimes to start to focus on the opposite, right? Mitch might be noticing what isn't, noticing what we're worried about, right? Getting more in that place of fear and those hard feelings that can really stop us from enjoying life, right? So I use that gratitude, I use that appreciation because I've noticed it's a huge tool. It changes how I feel so much, so quickly. But here's some of how I see it works as I've studied and listened to and practiced with and adopted things from various teachers who talk about gratitude and appreciation. Why does it work so well, so quickly, to take us from literally feeling miserable to feeling magical within minutes sometimes, right? If not within hours, if not within days. And again, the more that we not only use it responsively, like as a response to ourselves, especially when we're noticing we're really feeling anxious, depressed, listless, meaningless, right? That lack of fulfillment, that frustration, that fear, that we can always now see, oh, if I can find a way to shift my focus, and that's really a lot of what we're doing with a lot of these practices, is learning to attend to our focus, learning to be able to choose our focus. And undeniably, this is hard for all of us, especially in today's culture, whether or not you feel like you have attention deficits going on for your brain or not, wherever you feel like you fall in that with, the medical approaches these days even, that it's still about all of us realizing that we have this thing called focus. We have this thing called attention, we have this awareness, and that, yeah, we can play a role in it, and we really want to, right? Because 100% what we're focusing on is definitely creating how we feel, right? And what we're focusing on is also going to influence how we act and how we respond, and really change and influence our lives, right? So focus, attention. So that's what's so cool about something like gratitude, is it helps you shift your focus on purpose to something that's just gonna feel better. And why does it feel better? Well, there's various reasons we could see, right? That first of all, that we just notice that when we bring our focus, whatever we focus on is going to grow, right? And also it's all energy. So as we do even the slightest things to shift our focus, even if it's just finding things to be glad about within our misery, right? Within a terrible situation, to start to just list to ourselves some of the things we're thankful for within that really hard feeling situation, right? That it starts to shift our focus, right? How our mind is being used, where we're putting our attention, and starts to shift actually what types of thoughts are going to start to come in. It's definitely a vibrational tool as we use gratitude. It's definitely changing and lifting our vibration, you could say, and that's why it always feels better. And then if you're into a spiritual approach, you could see maybe, and I would say definitely, why gratitude feels better is it's because it's realigning us with how that part of us, that part of life, how God, spirit, our heart, our soul sees the situation, feels, right, is perceiving. So it aligns us more spiritually with a perspective that's more in alignment with that part of life and ourselves. And it turns out that just feels better to be more in alignment with that part of us, with our heart, with our soul, with our truth, with our God, right? So gratitude does that for us every time we use it, whether we're just starting to think about what we're thankful for within a hard situation even, or just in life, or writing about it is a really powerful way, talking about it, right? It's really cool to see how conversations and relationships can be shaped and shifted by more gratitude, right? And even just talking about what we're thankful for, right? Versus the opposite, which a lot of us has gotten in the habit of connecting through complaining, right? Which might, we think it feels good, right? But does it? And again, if it's putting our focus more strongly on something, growing that focus, even attracting more of such things, then we can see why we may not want to go towards that complaint way of connecting. So it's really cool to start to be in that awareness that it's kind of cool to sit around with our friends and talk about what we're thankful for, right? And what is going well. And it's interesting that, yeah, you really just start to retrain your brain and retrain your response. But it's because of daily practice. It's not something that I feel like you can just decide, okay, I'm just gonna be more grateful. Like for me, it's a daily practice. I may look and seem like a weirdo every day when I'm writing in my journal what I'm thankful for, but I do it every day because I know, regardless, however I'm feeling, whether I'm feeling good or feeling bad, it's always gonna make me feel better because it's getting a hold of my focus, right? My attention, helping me put it more in a positive place, right? More of a growth producing place, an area that I want to grow, right? Versus those opposite feelings. So gratitude is a vibrational tool. It's a spiritual tool. It's a mindset tool, right? And it really helps us. So I would recommend building in even more of it, especially if you've been feeling particularly miserable, like a lot of us have this year, for good reason. It's been a hard year, right? But I vote that we amp it up on the practices like things like gratitude, and just wanted to come share today some of why I use it so much, why I share it with others that I work with, and why I see that it works, and now understanding why we want to build it in, not just think about being more grateful, but actually practice it, right? With some of those weird seeming exercises, but it really will retrain your brain. It'll really shift your mood and your mental health, help you stay out of depression and anxiety, help you even shift those things. So it's exciting. And if you want more ideas, please reach out. I love to share the many ways that I've learned to play with something like gratitude and appreciation, and even talk more about why it works. So love you guys so much. Hope this is helpful for you on this Friday the 13th. So here's to getting more magical And I love you so much. Thanks for listening. Namaste.